Now we're going to cover vendor compliance in the new release. This is the first version of vendor compliance. More will come out on compliance in future releases. So first, to turn on compliance, you're going to need to go into your company subscriptions and scroll down to the bottom and toggle the vendor compliance on. If you have construction subscription, this is included in the cost. So we're also going to go over to our compliance definitions in purchasing and set those up in the system. Okay. So we're going to come in here and we're going to look at some that are already set up. Got insurance type in the category here, and you've got a miscellaneous type. Okay. So I've set up a general insurance definition ID and told it to validate against an expiration date, not the fact that I've obtained a document. So there's two different ways to validate. Okay. So when you log the receipt of this compliance item, you're going to have a date field to log or the fact that you've just received it with a checkbox. So this definition is using the expiration date field on that screen. Okay. So I'll show you that in a minute. And then also, if you're out of compliance, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to have an error and stop you from being able to pay accounts payable payments for that specific vendor? Do you want it to warn you, or do you want it to ignore? So the compliance definitions are set up first, and then you go in and you set up your compliance types. Okay. So the license here is another compliance definition that has the miscellaneous category here. And you have a document received validation against this one. And we're going to say, give us an error and not let us process through when we do the accounts payable for that specific vendor. So just a couple of differences there on compliance definitions. So on your compliance types, you can have a couple different compliance types roll up into a compliance definition. So if I've got a business license compliance definition that blocks payments if I don't have the document received. So this definition tells the system what to do. So I can actually make my business license and my specialty contractor license use the same compliance definition. I created a new business license compliance type, and I can pick the fact that this is the license compliance definition, okay, that I just showed. So on my specialty one, I also have this picked as license, which I'll show in a second. Okay. In your compliance types, you're also going to tell it how to number it. So each time you log a business license, how is the numbering going to look? Well, I just use license as a prefix, LIC, a dash, and a number. So the system is numbering it for me based on this sample value that's shown down here. So if we go look at the specialty contractor license compliance type, I'm using the same definition. So it's going to block my AP payments from happening. I'm also using the same record ID numbering sequence, okay, the LIC for license, okay? So just wanted to point out the compliance definitions and compliance types. So you set those both up in the system before you start logging the compliance records, okay? So over in the purchasing area, we have the compliance records under the All tab, where you're going to log your compliance records. Okay, so here's some that I've already set up. So for example, business license here. So when I add a new one, I'm going to pick the compliance type ID as a business license. It's going to default in some information for me up here, and I'm going to pick my vendor. Okay, I'm going to say it's received, and I'm going to give it the date that it received, and that I was the one who logged it. So once you're done clicking this document received box for this specific compliance definition, all it needs is this checkbox. It doesn't need any of the other dates. That's for the insurance compliance definition. So remember, we set that up to say, just validate it against the document received checkbox. So my license here validates against document received. Okay. So let's go look at the insurance one of these here. And you can see that I've got some dates filled in here. I've also checkmarked that, just to show that it's received. It doesn't hurt anything. But if you look at the insurance compliance definition, it's going to validate against the expiration date right there. Okay. So long as my expiration date is past today's date or equal to today's date, I'm not going to get a warning on the pay bills screen. So let's look at a couple that are in the system here with the expiration dates. So here's one that's expired on vendor V00001. You've got vendor 3 here that is not expired. Okay, so let's go look at the pay bills screen and refresh this and see what this looks like now. So vendor 1 has a warning, so that's what I've set up in that definition to say, hey, I'm past July 31st now, because today is August 9th. So over here, it's giving me a warning on my pay bill screen on that vendor each time. So if I sort by vendor, if I looked at all the vendors in here for Lowe's, it's going to have the warning next to that each time. Okay. So you still can get through it. You still can pay it, but it's going to give you a warning over here. If it said error, then it will not let you process through. That will stop you from paying. Okay. Just a quick rundown on how compliance works in the system with this release for the initial compliance rollout. Okay. Like I said, there's going to be more coming in future releases.